with just a moment of stillness, with an idea behind it, I can see what I'm thinking. I can see what my emotions are. I can feel my body senses and my body urges. Who am I that can see those things? Leading to the idea, I am not this body alone. So let's just take a moment and muse on who am I that's enjoying this adventure in this vehicle. Okay, so I always review our words to get on the same page when there's somebody new. Stefani also uses a lot of mindfulness, but never uses that word or the same model, as I call it, that I do. But so we all have got our own vocabulary, and that's good. You should be building your own. But here's ours, or mine. We all have two main aspects to our human experience. One is what I call the natural self. I believe it's the life itself that has come into this body to animate it. It has some unique characteristics. It's always at peace. It's always curious in a quiet way. What's going on? What's happening for you? Oh, I wonder how this is going to go. It's curious in peace, not that intellectual curious of trying to figure it out, just asking a question. What? It sees in beauty. It will see anything and just suddenly see much beauty there, the dog toy or a person, or that's its nature, is to see in beauty. It looks out and feels a connection to everything. It's like when we see the puppy or a beautiful flower or our new lover, you feel something in your chest and or your mind open and go out to them, just loving them. That's its nature. And in that nature, what is a key thing I use for teaching is it wishes you well. I see you, you're awesome, and I wish you well. So that's our natural self that we're going to look for in awakening. The other component or aspect is our animal self. And that's been called the ego in some teachings. Some use it derisively and call it our human, as if that's a lesser subset. It's not. It's just another aspect of our experiencing, and I'm trying to cancel out the negative teachings about it in one sentence here. So anyway, to move on, it literally is the animal that this construct was evolved to be. It's built to survive. So its basic outlook on everything is suspicion. Is that going to be harmful? Is there something I can take from that that'll be good for me? If it survives, then its next level of concern is reproduction. And we all know how it gets busy with that. And if that's all taken care of, then it looks to satiation of the animal appetites, which could be of any sort. It might be an emotional satiation. I want people to respect me, as in like Trump's, build me an arch and tell me how great I am. It might be an appetite that's physical, like sugar, or whatever. The point is, those are all embodied in us as old programs. A lot of them have been put there by programming since the time we were little. Some of them are genetic, as in the urge to attack something because I want to get something from it. It doesn't matter the origin, but the point is we're going to learn to recognize these reactions come up, and they always come up first. So in any moment, it may be a very lovely moment, but then right there's my mind saying, wait a minute, what are they up to? Do they want something from me? So we just learn to recognize the difference between, oh, am I in that happy place? I wish you well, you know? Or am I in, what are you up to? What do you want? So awakening is the process of shifting our sense of personal identity from I am this animal self with all its desires and likes and dislikes and preferences and goals, and we shift from that as who I am to here I am in this vehicle that's programmed like this. What do I want to do with it for fun? What do I want to do with it in a way that's loving and mutually beneficial for everything in creation? And I have found that this basic model correlates very well with the Tao, with Buddha, with the teachings of Jesus, and pretty much every other mystic I've ever looked at. So what it comes down to is a singular practice at the end. We may have many to bring us to this final one, but the final singular practice in mindfulness is, all right, here I am. Oh, I remember I could be at peace while I'm experiencing this. First step is letting the memory return. Sometimes that takes a few weeks or months, but it'll come. Then I begin making my choice. I want to get back to that peace. No, I don't. I want to get back. I like being angry. Damn it, I'm enjoying being pissed. No, I need to be afraid. That's what protects me. I'd rather be at peace. So that may take a moment, a week, or a month, or a year. The third step is I finally get still for just a second and say, yes, I do want to return to peace for this experience. I really do. That's when a real choice is made, and something different happens once I've made that choice. The fourth step that finishes it is I turn within. Now, whether I call that my own awareness, like Buddhism does, or whether I call it the higher power, Christ, Holy Spirit, like Christianity does and AA does, or whatever I call that sense of the origin of my life, say, the source of my life, I turn to it and I say, help me get to my peace. Because when we are in our animal mind, we cannot use willpower alone to overcome it, because there was an unconscious choice to be that already made. We're battling ourselves. And that's where I've seen so many people waste so much time on their journey trying to do this with willfulness from their own personality. The moment I turn to some idea, there's something in here that's bigger than this animal self. I turn to it and say, a little help, please. Help me get to my peace. And that's when progress starts moving ahead. So that's the basic model that I use for mindfulness. What we do here for group is how do we bring anything and everything back to that? So I end up back in a place of I'm seeing in peace, beauty, joy, and I'm wishing you well. How, there's hundreds of other practices that we may adopt to begin moving back there. But how do we energize them to begin experiencing the effects of peace? So, thoughts?
I kind of like how you said it doesn't matter where your programming comes from. Because oftentimes, like, whether it's like conditioning, it just doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, what's the point of even trying to figure out where it comes from? Like, you just need the present. So you might as well start where you are. Yeah. Versus, like, dwelling on the past. Right. And any conditioning, and just find your presence.
What I found, what will happen is, when I do exactly that, it may bring up the past at times to show me something where I can let go of something. Mm-hmm. And I have experienced literally where it's like I finally recognized mine was fear of being rejected, was really polluted a lot of my life. Mm-hmm. And one day there it was, crystal clear. And it felt horrible. And I just, Lord, help please. And in some time, that whole feeling just dissolved out of me. I just felt it move. Like, wow. It just felt...
Never came back?
Well, the thought will come back. Okay. But it doesn't grab me anymore.
Right, it got weaker and weaker.
I see it, and I just say, no thank you. And every time it gets a little more weak. So in that sense, we will meet our past sometimes. Other times, I've had just a feeling of like a anxious energy. And the peace would come, okay, no understanding at all of what came and went.
Yeah.
But I think part of the trick is learning to not need a strong model. Learning to let it all float and see what our awareness can do to us, in a good way. Yeah. An axiom is our awareness, or tying it to the Christian following we do here, the Christ within us that wants to guide us, will always produce an outcome that is best for both us and everyone involved. So I get still. I don't know what to do, think, say here. Get still, maybe feel a little bit of peace. I can feel that even if I'm terrified over here on the side. And then a thought comes from nowhere. And I trust it. And I go ahead. And it might sound crazy. It might sound ridiculous. It might sound like pablum. It doesn't matter. At that point, I've learned to trust my connection. And that's how we move ahead, as I've experienced it, with trusting who we are as this natural life, which will give us ideas that are good. And all you got to do is trust. And saves a lot of thinking and worrying. Gets a little crazy sometimes too. That's fun.
Yeah, I try to, or I usually am a little too analytical, I think, with all that stuff, so, yeah, like with the past and everything,
yeah. Yeah, and we're each have to sort it guided by our own inner spirit. Yeah. In that sense, that is the path, but it's only my connection to my inner sense of, I call it presence sometimes too. One person becomes a monk here, another person goes back to New England and resumes their life there. Who knows? It's like there is no way that we can define. We can only follow the way from within, which is what the Tao is all about, the way. For you,
not for everybody.
Or anybody else. Yeah.
Just, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say the peaceful way from yourself, it can also be, it can still be found with an analytical mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the natural self, too, is once we're aware and experiencing the natural self is when we begin to realize that we're not a separate self that has to defend itself from everything else. And it just happens to be one of the things that was important in my developing spiritually and growing, was that realization. And that's how we wish well to others, is because we realize they're part of us, they're connected, we're not just a bunch of disconnected bodies.
Yeah.
And us getting along is, and being at peace is so beneficial. I also want to bring up, and you may be able to take off on this, and if not, we'll just kind of drop it, but being in the rehab place, particularly with the roommate that I had, was a mindfulness challenge that I really hadn't had to deal with, certainly not around here. We've had one or two people go through here that were challenging. Mostly everybody's been great. But I asked Spirit or whatever, what was the main thing, and it's just constant irritation. So irritating what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
There
We
you
can
go.
play with that.
Mm-hmm.
The scientific definition of life is the ability to respond to irritation.
Interesting. Can you say that again?
The science,
I've never heard that.
this was in biology I took in college.
Right.
The basic definition of life is the ability to respond to irritation.
Wow. Huh.
If you have a virus in a dish and you add a drop of chlorine, it just sits there.
Oh.
If you have bacteria in a dish and add a drop, they all swim away from it.
Mm.
They respond to
The irritation.
Yes.
Right.
So it gives a clue, I think. Our animal self, it's back to that always wanting to protect itself and have what I want. And from that arises that sense of irritation. It's a beautiful teaching tool. At some point on our path, we get tired of being irritated. I think the saying in AA is, we change when we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had a huge hatred, anger at the world for being so mean and stupid for decades. It would consume me and hurt me. And recently I've been able to let that shift. But what it showed me, when it began shifting, is it all starts with just a slight irritation. It's like the entryway to pull us back into our animal. And that's where I'm willing to leave my peace and go into my animal self. And I want my animal self It wants to dictate what this situation should be. And once I realized that slight irritation is what I call the gateway thought. It's the one thought I think and say, yeah, I'm going to go with being pissed off now. We've let the animal self take control of us again. So we're living by its directive instead of from my peace directive. And just when I said we learn to shift our identity from the animal to the natural self, it really means which aspect am I letting direct my life this moment. When I let the animal direct it, it will direct it with destructive anger. If I let my peaceful self direct it, it still sees the exact same situation and may get a rise in energy, like this ain't right and I'm going to change it, but it's not in a destructive intent.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not cause me to contract in self-defense either. It lets me be present with the power of the universe behind me and in front of me. So it's always, I mean, that's why Lazo called it the way. It's a way of living we're going to practice the rest of our life. It's not something we're going to get. That's where it differs from Buddhism, which implies that there's a certain point of enlightenment we attain. I've never seen it. And despite people that claim they've got it there, I've never seen it in an individual either. Even Jesus struggled with his human self, the animal, right till the very end. You know, he's got this super connection to the divine, and he's still got to deal with his fears and his anger along the way. So mindfulness is about adopting this way of constantly looking, am I animal? Am I tense? Am I grasping to get? Or am I glad to be here, glad you're here? Oh, I think I'll shift back to the glad. And it's okay that all the other in the animal is still there. You can have a whole day of being in a bad mood and see it. And instead of saying, oh, damn it, I'm in a bad mood, I lost my light today. No. All right, I see I'm in a bad mood. Low help, please. It's okay. Just let me sit here, because that's when the light goes to work. When anything is up and I'm experiencing it in any way, and I say, oh, I'd prefer to be at peace, help me, and then I'm still in that bad mood, I'm still tense, I'm still angry. Okay, it's okay. Don't try to mind jack it with tricky little happy sayings. It's just, I know I'll do better when I get back to peace. Get me there. It's okay. We're not ever fighting. We're not fighting ourselves. We're not fighting the world. We're not fighting God. We're just choosing over and over. I want to get back to my peace. I want to get back to my peace. And it comes. The shift will come. And most often, it will make a change in us, so the next round will be less. That's the way. Did anything I say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. So I'm thinking of a specific issue which was easily solved overnight. Was the blaring loud television.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, it took her a few days to even find the television. But once the television was found, she stopped using her little iPad and started using the TV, and she was hard of hearing. So, TV was blaring, and it was on all day. So leaving the room was one way for me to handle things. And I my inner desire wasn't to make things difficult for her, but to just ease up. I mean, it was just wearing to have that sound constant, and trying to read and do some of the things that I was doing. So it was solved overnight by using the closed captioning, and she agreed that that was okay for her. So we did work that out. The temperature in the room, we did not quite work out. Because there was no way to keep track of, I was almost always cold. She was, well, I'm hot. And now I'm cold. And now and wanting to change the temperature all the time. So, yeah, but getting back to my piece, is a constant for me anyway. I mean, it's how I am. It was a physical irritation, really, in that case. In the case of the TV.
Stefan really emphasizes trust, and that grows.
Mm-hmm.
But it's trust through personal experience. It's not believing, as in, oh, I believe I'll be protected. I believe I'll be given what I need as a nice little la-di-la thought. It comes from, like I shared the story at breakfast of when Claire was tossed, the neighbor decided to call her right that second. So the phone could be located in the tall grass, and she could tell him what was going on, and he could call us and send her help. Trust comes from our own experiences of things like that. And then we can either accept it, or we can say, oh, that was just luck, and I still got to worry about all this stuff and be in a panic all my life. So we trust. I trust now. The universe gives me what's best for me. It'll never be perfect from my animal definition. It's given me this place to live with people following this crazy path, the crazy way I like to follow it. I can afford to live here. There's no way I could afford to live out in the world except on a subsidized housing or something. Everything is what I need for my awakening to continue. And that's what's important to me. So I trust. And yeah, my room goes down to like 40 degrees at night or something. But I used to get angry about that when my room would be cold in the past. I want it to be just this certain temperature.
Perfect.
Now, I just deal. I learned that it's okay if my feet are numb up to my knees. And I just get under my electric blanket at bedtime and I'm fine.
Sensations.
So, even in that trusting, we're always I allow you to change my animal. See, that's the releasing the identification with, no, I'm like this and this is what I need and this is what I want. It will give me enough of that to let me continue my awakening without dying or literally suffering. But yet, half of the journey is learning what I have is just fine. I don't need steak instead of hamburger.
Right.
I don't need beet sugar. I'm fine on regular sugar. I love the high I get. Anyway.
Right.
And then you watch another person, whatever their path is doing, and like, damn, they win a little lottery, they pay off their house, and they spend every year going on Caribbean cruises, and it's like, well, they get everything they want. I mean, you gotta watch. There's all kinds of places in our mind that are gonna look out and justify, well, I should be satiating my animal too. No, when I go to my peace, my animal self will be given enough to be taken care of and have a lot of happy time too.
Mm-hmm.
So in our case, we're given this environment that we love. For others, it's a nice place to visit for a little while, but maybe I'll move along. You know, trust though is the power we have to make it work for us. So I'll sum it up real quick and go offline. I do kid about things like serial killers, and people think I'm really weird. And I give the reminder, the Apostle Paul was a serial killer until his encounter with Christ. And what did he say about all that? Not a word. He said, just stop doing it that way and I'm going to have you do something new now. The point being, we are all going to find some ugly stuff in ourselves as this awakening unfolds. I know the part in me that understands being a MAGA person. It's ugly. It's okay that it's there. I don't use it. I don't play with it. But I understand it because I have that energy from my upbringing. So we need to allow whatever is in us, whatever, to come to sight and to be willing to say, okay, look what we got here. Pretty friggin' ugly. And you'll hear the inner voice say, it's okay, gotcha. Let's just sit here and look at it a little bit. And as Tolle would say, Eckhart Tolle, if you know him, he'd say awareness alone is enough to dissolve or transform anything. Anything. Just look. Still there? It's there again today? Okay, I'll just look. There it is. I don't want it. I don't want to feed it. I don't want it to take control of me. Good. And in some time, it'll begin to dissipate. So that's important to know because our paths tend to start out pretty sweet. We'll get some cool peace experiences. We'll read some nice stuff and we feel all good about it. And then it takes us to the basement and says, time to go to work. And for the next little while, like maybe 3 or 4 decades, we're discovering stuff we didn't even know was in there. It's not about establishing this little bubble of la peace and saying, oh, I'm just going to hang out here now for the rest of my life. Some people do, and that's all right. I'm not judging their path. But for anyone that's on, say, an active, progressing path, which tend to be the people showing up here, it's going to continue. Whatever else is in there is going to continue to be brought up to be undone or transformed. So you're not failing because you just had 3 sweet years of this wonderful space and suddenly all this crap is up in my mind. Wonderful. The basement's getting cleaned. So it always comes back to just that one little choice. Do I want to go to peace? Do I want to move back to experiencing this moment, this situation from my natural self? Or do I want to let my reactive animal self have control? That's it. That one choice is all I ever need to make. But I do need to make it, clearly, sometimes. It's the same choice in the more fundamental Christianity. Well, you know, the devil's always tempting you. You got to watch out for the power. That it's still just a choice. You know, in the end, you got to say, I choose the devil or I choose Christ. It's always that choice. Nothing has any power over me past my choice. And to really get that is so sweet. Like, wow, there's all this going on. I can choose peace and how to move with it in love. Thank you.